Now joining me, the beat reporter for the New York Jets on WFAN in New York. He's covering the Patriots this week for the Super Bowl. He joins me right now live at Radio Row. That's Peter Schwartz. Peter, Zach Gelb here, DARPATV.com. Thank you for joining me, and how you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing good, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on, and you just came back from the Madonna press conference. How was that?
I'd say it was interesting. I was about 20 rows back, and she looks pretty good. I don't know exactly how old she is, but for however old she is, she looks pretty good, and she's promised to put on a pretty good show on Sunday, so we'll see.
I'm not in love with Madonna doing the halftime, really.
Well,
I would rather see some Bruce Springsteen going on. I know we had him on a few years ago, but no Madonna.
But Alex Rodriguez liked Madonna.
It
actually came up in conversation.
But he liked her in different ways, maybe not the musical talent.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to get into that on your show.
Locker room real quick. I want to get to the Jets before we get to this game. It has been a big problem. How do you see this Jets locker room right now?
Well, it clearly was an issue, and it was something. What's amazing to me was how long it took for people to find out about it. And obviously, earlier in the season this year, you had the isolated incident of Santonio Holmes calling out the offensive line and Brandon Moore firing back, and then it stopped, and then you didn't hear anything about it until the end of the last game when Santonio was benched. It's a huge issue, and I think the bigger issue is Rex Ryan not knowing that this was going on, if it's true. Now, if it's true, it's a bad year for Rex. And I like Rex as a head coach, and I think he's got the potential to be a really good head coach if he tones down his act and gets a grip on his football team. Listen, if this continues, this is going to be it for him this year because the honeymoon is over. They went to the title game 2 years in a row. Nobody is remembering that right now because the Giants are here in the Super Bowl. But they've got to get it together. They've got to get some of the bad apples out of there. I don't know if they can jettison Holmes because it'll cost them $7 million on the cap to do it. So somehow, some way, they got to get all these parties involved to be on the same page, smooth things out, and go forward, because otherwise it's going to be another disastrous season next year.
You cover the Jets every day. You're at that stadium almost every day. You probably spend more time there than you do at your own house. Looking at Rex Ryan.
That's a little disturbing, and you have to even bring that up.
Looking at Rex Ryan, what do you think he can do to change right now and make this football team better?
Well, I think Rex has to find, for himself, Rex has to find a balance. I don't think anybody wants him to change the fact that he is a passionate guy, that he's confident in his football team, but I think that passion has to come out a little differently. I think he could word things a little differently. Instead of saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, I think everyone would be happy if he said, listen, our goal is to win the Super Bowl. You may think that you're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think putting that out there puts a whole lot of pressure on your players, because then your players believe in it, they start talking about it, and you have the disaster you had this year.
Is Sanchez the answer, though, at quarterback?
Yeah, I think Sanchez had a rough year.
Didn't have a great offensive line, though.
He did. The offensive line had issues. He took a beating back there in a number of the games. He made some terrible mistakes. He still has some issues trying to force the ball in. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he wants to lead this team. He wants to take ownership in the offense. I think they need to get back to what worked early on, and they need to run the football more. They need to be more of a conservative offense, ground and pound, and I think they're going to do that with Tony Sparano as the offensive coordinator. And a lot of people have said, even Rex mentioned it when they hired Sparano, was that Schottenheimer's verbiage in his offense was a little too much. And I think when you have a young quarterback that only played 18 or so games in college, not the perfect formula for success. So I still believe in Mark Sanchez. I don't think you can throw out the 4 playoff wins. I don't think you can throw out what he's accomplished with the Jets. But I do think now with Sparano at the helm and them settling the offense down a little bit, I think he's going to be fine.
Zach Gelb here on Radio Row in Indianapolis on the Peerless Boilers set. Peerless builds America's best boilers with my favorite Jets beat reporter, Peter Schwartz, and Pete will be covering the Patriots.
How could you have a favorite Jet beat reporter if you don't like the Jets?
Because, Peter, I could like the Patriots, but I could have friends in the industry that play that cover the Jets.
Yeah, I say so. I'm just busting your chops.
I know you are.
Yeah.
But the little difference this week covering the Patriots than your usual group.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually kind of a little culture shock being around that team and being around, a bunch of guys that exude confidence and are in a situation where they expect to win. They have a plan for winning. They know how to win. They've got a head coach and a quarterback that have done nothing but win since they've been together. So it's been interesting. I found Bill Belichick to be a lot more jovial than I've ever seen him before. He's cracking jokes every day. The players have like a relaxed confidence. It's very, very intriguing to cover them this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because being the Patriot fan that I am, I sit down, I watch Belichick's press conference. You usually go, "Oh, well, we got to execute better next time."
I usually fall asleep.
Yeah, and he's given jokes at this time, and I was just amazed by that.
Yeah.
But let's get to his quarterback, Tom Brady. He wins this game. What does that do to his legacy? Where do you rank him among the all-time greats?
Oh, I mean, he's up there. I mean, I don't even think he has to win this game to be up there. I mean, you've already been to 4 Super Bowls and won 3 of them.
Does he pass Montana though? That's the big one. Right now, Montana is number 1, and Brady, you can make a case he's number 2, or you can make a case that other quarterbacks are there.
I will say this, and I don't mean to ride both sides of the fence on this, but if Brady wins this game, he's in the conversation. I mean, he's already in the conversation now. It's almost like a 1A, 1B situation, because, listen, you're talking about Joe Montana. And listen, Brady's career is not done yet. I mean, we could be sitting here at Radio Row in 5 years, and Brady could have 2 or 3 more rings, and it's not even a question. But I think right now, if they win this game, the Patriots, it's certainly in the conversation.
And also, where it gives Brady a big plus is, when he won Super Bowls, it was with Troy Brown, David Givens, David Patton. Any of those names, they aren't Jerry Rice.
He's had a lot of nondescript wide receivers. And I'll tell you the interesting thing, and I was talking this week with Mike Francesa about it, and we're both in agreement. If Ocho Cinco plays in this game, he's an intriguing part of this contest on Sunday, because with Gronkowski, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. I firmly believe he's going to play, but obviously with that high ankle sprain, he's going to be limited. But if Ocho Cinco gets on the field, now granted, he's not the same player he was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, but he's got the capability of making a play or two in this game. And when you think about the matchup, a play or two in this game is the difference.
I'll give you one more name, Deion Branch. All the people are concerned about Gronkowski, Hernandez, and Welker, and you saw what happened in the Denver Broncos game. Yeah, they did an okay job. Gronkowski did have 3 touchdowns, but people forgot about Deion Branch. Boom, 50-yard touchdown right there. I can't see that happening with either Ocho Cinco or Branch this upcoming week.
Listen, he's talked about it all week, how tickled pink he was to be able to come back to the Patriots. Obviously, he went after greener pastures. At least he thought it was out in Seattle. It didn't work out for him there. And for him to come back, and that's the greatness of the Patriots, is to be able to pull off a trade like that, bring back a guy that, granted, listen, Deion Branch is not going to go down in NFL history as one of the greatest wide receivers, but he comes back, he fits in the system, Brady knows him, he knows Brady. It's a tremendous move for the Patriots when they brought him back. Obviously, it didn't work out for them in the playoffs last year, but certainly this year it's worked out for them very well. And clearly, when you think about this Patriots offense with those nondescript wide receivers, if they're ever able to add and draft a big-time wide receiver, how good will this offense be then?
We're talking to Peter Schwartz. And Peter, 2 more questions right before we let you run. This secondary, what did you find from this secondary this week? Are they confident?
I think they're confident. They say they're confident. I think that's the one... To me, that's the one real spot in this game where the Giants have a huge edge, is that the secondary has played so up and down for the Pats during the season. It's hard for me to think that these guys are going to be able to clamp down on Cruz, on Nix, and on Manningham. The Patriots' hopes defensively ride on their front 4. And their front 4 has played better as the season's gone on. Vince Wilfork has been a beast in the last few weeks, especially in the playoffs.
Mark Anderson has been playing well.
Andre Carter has had his moments. And listen, a guy that I followed for a long time could be an X factor this game too if Sean Ellis gets a chance to get out there. He plays so well in big games. Played great for the Jets against the Patriots last year at Foxborough. So they've got some guys that can be factors on defense, but if it comes down to the secondary trying to keep up with the giant wide receivers, the Patriots may have some issues on Sunday.
You've seen a lot of injuries on both sides throughout this whole course of the season, and you mentioned Andre Carter. He went down this year. He's not going to be a factor in Sunday's game because he's out for the year on IR, and the Patriots stepped right in. They put Mark Anderson in right into the system, and he's flourished. You know, this Patriots team is very resilient.
There's no question about it. Guys get hurt like Andre Carter. They have a guy that steps right in. They've had a ton of injuries on the offensive line. Matt Light was out for a little bit. They've gone through 3 centers this year. So they've been able to find a way. Listen, the difference between the Patriots and the Jets had injuries on the offensive line and it killed them. The Patriot injuries, they didn't miss a beat.
Pete, you think that camera's for you or Miss America right now?
Oh, it better not be for me because if they're pointing it at me, then they've got big problems.
Pete, give me a prediction right before we let you go.
I like the Giants, Zach, 35-20.
Pete, thanks so much. I appreciate it. See you next year in New Orleans.
In New Orleans with some Cajun food.